Now then, you're welcome along. So it's Wednesday evenings off the ball. We will have Dan McDonnell in on the football show later on between 9 and 10. We'll have Tommy Welch talking hurling this hour. Wednesday night rugby, Keith Wood, Andy Dunn in studio. 53106 is the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. Richie McCormack is there, I presume. Hello.
You presume right, Joe? Evening.
Very good. And Rory O'Connor of the Irish Independent has been dragged in for the Newsround. Thank you very much for doing this, by the way.
My pleasure. How are you?
Appreciate it. All good. All good. Andy Dunn, Keith Wood later on. We recorded this chat a short time ago. Andy Dunn is summoning Eastern philosophy and policies of containment to dictate how Ireland should go forward in the scrum, which is one of the more Andy Dunn things I've ever said.
Yeah, I guess Andy's an expert in many things, but the scrum, I'm not sure. Pretty stick to Keith on that one. That's interesting. I look forward to hearing it.
So I haven't really talked to you too much. What have you made? I heard you Ronan the other week. What have you made of the Six Nations generally from an Irish point of view? All good? Were you happy campers after 2022?
Yeah, very much so. Like, I mean, to go and win 4 out of 5 bonus points in all 4 plus a losing bonus in Paris, I think is above what they would have taken it beforehand. Albeit, when we came in here beforehand, they were aiming for a Grand Slam, and it was there for them in Paris. And there's a little bit of frustration that they started so strong against Wales, and their performance has probably tapered a little bit towards the end, and that, I think, is down to Porter's injury in particular, and Kelleher to a lesser degree, and it just shows how reliant they are on them. So on those two players. The attack is brilliant. It didn't quite fire at the weekend, but it's there to be relied upon. You know, a lot of stuff going on really, really well. I like the way they're quite relaxed. I like the attitude around them. I think I'd be less fearful about certain elements of this regime than I would have been about the previous one. At this point, it doesn't seem as tense. It doesn't seem as set up to fail. But that scrum really worries me, and it could be their Achilles heel against the biggest teams on the biggest stage in 18 months' time. If they haven't learned from this, if they haven't approached this the same way they would if they'd lost to Twickenham with that scrum, in terms of how they're going to approach it from the next 18 months, I would be quite concerned that it will come undo them, because no scrum, no win. If you're playing 15 men in a big knockout game and your scrum starts going into backwards overdrive, for want of a better phrase, that would really concern me. So that's a big thing to work on, but it's there. Like, the only problem is there's not a huge amount of personnel out there to come in.
On the assumption that there isn't a world-class scrummager drinking pints in Andy Friend's son's bar, for instance, with Irish qualifications, Andy Farrell can't magic someone up. So is there anyone on the horizon who's coming over the hill in time for 2023? Not without a massive step forward. I mean, I thought Josh Richie was very good for Munster at the last weekend. I like the look of him. I've heard his size questioned. Outstanding ball player. I thought he looked quite good over in quite big in South Africa, but I was only kind of casually, kind of keeping an eye on that game. I mean, Boyle, the loose head for the 20s this year, he's very highly rated, but he's 20, kind of loose head. I mean, Porter did it. Porter was in the Ireland team within a year of 20s. It's a big ask. Porter's a bigger man.
Porter is a bigger man, and Porter's ahead of him in Leinster, and so is Cian Healy. So how does he get in? But maybe they try and fast track him. I'm not sure. There's not an obvious one there. As long as Porter's there, you're okay with Kilcoyne or Healy coming off the bench. I think it's if Porter's not there. So it's basically all about Andrew Porter's assumed that Mike Ross, Tyke Furlong, Johnny Sexton, he's in that club now of players that just can't get injured in the next 18 months. So that's a worry.
And in scrummaging terms, is the gap between Tyke Furlong and Finlay Bealham as big as the gap from Porter to the others? Just in scrummaging terms, we all know what Tyke Furlong does around a pitch.
I don't think we know that yet, because we haven't seen Finlay Bealham start the major international, because Porter was always there as the backup.
Of course,
You would think, Finlay Bealham holds his own at Champions Cup level in the scrum. He holds his own for 15 minutes, but I was going through the numbers last week. He didn't come on for more than 15-17 minutes in any game, really. So there is a leap to be made there, and we haven't seen that. So that's another thing that maybe we will see in New Zealand, if they're kind of going, well, Furlong went on the lines, his minutes being managed. I don't see it happening. That's not the way Andy Farrell's operated so far. So these are the things that hang over them. But it's a really good place to be. You're picking holes in a very, very good team. It's just that the World Cup draws is horrendous. You're playing South Africa, then Scotland, both of whom cause one will cause you trouble in the scrum, one just causes problems in the scrum, and then you have quarter-final against New Zealand or France. So that's what that's what they're building towards. That's the draw that they've been handed. So for all that, there's really the Triple Crown is very much worthy of celebration. Great achievement for the team. They deserve. They're all off on their holidays now, and they're all enjoying it, and they deserve that because they've achieved something in this window. It wasn't what they set out to achieve, but if they're not, if they're starting to kind of fall in love with themselves again, you start to worry. I think that's where a Triple Crown is possibly better than a Grand Slam in some ways, that they're not, that they know there's room to grow. And Farrell and John Fogarty have a big job in that way. And all the scrum coaches throughout the provinces should be part of this. This should be a project.
Yeah. Got to lose a big World Cup match just because your scrum is being killed would be one of the more frustrating ways to go.
England. Look, the World Cup. That's why it's so present in my mind. Look, the Saracens game in 2020 for Leinster, how their scrum and they got overpowered in that way. It's the concern that we've all had, and they've developed an attacking game that kind of gets them over a lot of it, but you can't attack your way out of a scrum.
Is that a weakness in the great sport that is rugby union? That there is this displaced overemphasis on the importance of the scrum. Strength.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get it in league, Richie.
No, you wouldn't get it in league. Thank God that's back on Channel 4, by the way. Nice free to air
back,
rugby league. Yeah. Super League's on Channel 4 now these days, which is great crack.
Somebody texting in deeply critical of the lack of atmosphere on Saturday. It's very quiet. Oof.
Yeah, it was a strange game, and I don't think the organisers, I don't know whether it's the IRFU or someone they employ to do it, but I mean, they're piping in crowd music and Let's Go Ireland, and it's kind of a big, and it's not like there's no one actually cheering the crowd.
Piping in crowd.
They're piping in the fields of Athenry. Like, it's not even a complete bar. It's like a little bit of the fields of Athenry, in the hope that someone, like, no one has ever joined in one of these.
Not during the game.
During the game, yeah. Before the kick-off, during the game, at quiet moments, there was a little Let's Go Ireland kind of, and like it would come up on the screen. It didn't say Let's Go Ireland, but then the crowd noise would suddenly amplify, but no one, it was definitely coming through the tannoy.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a new policy?
They've tried little things like this. They're not consistent in what they do, but I haven't noticed that one in a while. But they'd obviously noticed that the atmosphere at the Italy game wasn't great, and they decided to fill. Like, rugby's one of these sports where people are standing around and there's long silences and long gaps.
Sure.
I don't think Aviva's ever, when they play the All Blacks or England, there's a natural thing that takes over and it works. They've never managed to kind of create an occasion themselves. It always feels really forced whenever they try it. Whether it's the fellas with the drums on the sideline or those things, always none of them click with me. Whereas when they do it in France or in the Millennium Stadium, they always feel really authentic. Good. Authentic is the word. So
we're piping in on the tannoys. Crowds singing Fields of Athenry in the hope that it prompts the actual crowd
it kind
to join
of finishes off before the first end of the line or the verse, in the hope that some people will have. You can't, no one's paying attention to that. Like, I don't see how that would ever work.
And did it work?
No, not in the slightest. The problem, I think, is the bars and people going up and down, and it's an event, and it, like, there's a big problem with kind of those big event matches. In the Aviva and in other stadiums as well. If the bars are open and your whole revenue is predicated on selling drink, it doesn't lend itself to a great atmosphere often. Often people are too busy chatting. They've bought their tickets. They can do what they like in the stadium. I prefer to see them engaging in the match and singing, but they want to go up and down to the bars and kind of need to go to the Jacks every so often. It just doesn't. Yeah, it's not great. It wasn't great at the weekend.
You wouldn't get it at Daily Mount. Do you two have a secret handshake when you see each other, by the way?
Just a nod.
Just a nod.
Yeah,
and knowing look.
We'd never be so open, Joe, about it.
Like two former lines on the streets, 20 years on.
It's a haunted look at the moment.
In the conversation. The atmosphere thing is noticeable in the Aviva, and it has been since it opened, and it has been set aside for the likes of, like, I recall the Germany game when Shane Long obviously scored that goal, and there's been certain instances when it's managed to brew something pretty special. But outside of those big occasions, even with 50,000 people in it, it can be as flat as a pancake. And like, the drink thing is massive. Like, the going up and down to bars, like, I even noticed it during the FA Cup final, because the bars are open for the first half of that, and it's annoying as hell. Like, it really is. You've got people who just aren't engaged in the game, and it's more of a social occasion for them. If that's what they want it to be, then fine, but I don't think it's what benefits the players on the pitch, or ultimately will benefit trying to foster new fans to come in for these events.
I suppose, I'm talking off the top of my head here, so correct me if I'm wrong, thinking rugby and football, soccer, we don't have a huge arsenal of songs up our sleeve. So what's sung in a rugby match bar the Fields of Athenry?
Ireland.
Yeah.
Ireland.
And what's sung in a soccer match beyond Come On You Boys?
The guys behind the goal have a good range of songs. I don't think the rest of the stadium necessarily knows them.
No, they watch them. They don't know the words.
They join in for the stand up to the boys in green and the odd thing.
We can't
Ole. Like, the football fans,
Ole. They've got
I find the football matches can be, like, a lot of what rugby happens in rugby is predicated on the pitch. If things on the pitch are exciting, the crowd will roll in behind that. But I don't remember it's often Scotland, Wales, and Italy games. This year, this of the 2 years are often. They're not great games and they're not great atmospheres in the Aviva because Ireland are generally dominant and the crowd just kind of sits back. The crowd have paid an awful lot of money for their tickets, and people.
What's a ticket these days? Over 100.
It's more than 100 for a lot. Yeah, and
it's a crazy amount. We don't sell children's tickets, do we? So if you want to bring along
children tickets, there's a limited number of children's tickets available. In the old Lansdowne Road, you had the schoolboy terrace on the South Terrace, which always created a bit of a buzz because you've loaded young lads in behind the goal, but that's obviously not possible in the modern Aviva Stadium. Like if it's Ireland, England, if it's Ireland, New Zealand, the atmosphere is always good.
Yeah.
And there's a buzz to those games. I think a lot of fans turn up expecting to beat Scotland and Wales. And
see, I suppose with the England game and New Zealand game, everybody's so engrossed in the action and every moment feels big, so everyone's anything from a Gary Owen to a turnover to breakdown, etc. is a big moment and everyone's cheering it. Scotland, Wales, less so. We can't sing the Fields of Athenry 40 times.
I find the Fields of Athenry to be quite morose and not great at getting the atmosphere going. I know at home and when it gets going it can be quite special, but I do find it's very low tempo. I think, but you can't, like, these things are kind of created organically. You can't just...
What songs should we be singing at an Irish rugby match?
Put it out to the texters.
531.
You've caught me on the spot here, but
Sweet Caroline.
Jesus. Enough of that. Well, the Euros in particular, but the Lions kind of embraced that as well, and it was a bit much.
Somebody says piping in music isn't unique to Croker. We're talking Aviva. Piping in music isn't unique to Croker. They don't do it in the Gala, I presume.
But before the game, but at half time, we're all used to it. It's mid-game. That really drives me mad, and it happens at certain kind of club grounds and stuff. But at national stadium, you just expect things to be, and Six Nations occasions, it's slightly undermined.
Yeah, it's big in New Zealand and Australia, says this texture.
That's true.
In game,
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that is an advertisement for it either. The atmosphere in New Zealand and Australia at games is often not very good.
And are they piping in fake crowd singing in the hope crowd will join in, or just music?
No, they bring
stoppages?
in Mike and the Mechanics in New Zealand. They don't have many bands, so they kind of bring in their own brand of things. But the atmosphere is notoriously bad in New Zealand at games, whereas they look to Europe as where we have these magical atmospheres. But it's not, like, it can be good, it can be bad. It depends on the day, it depends on the match. And, like, I'm not universally criticising Ireland fans at matches for being terrible. I just think that they've come to, like, Scotland delivered exactly what we expected of them on Saturday. Like, they didn't give us much. They were competitive without ever really threatening to win the match. If they made it exciting, I think the atmosphere would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
Ireland are too good. Maybe that's the
problem.
Yeah, but whereas you put France or England in there, you've a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, for sure. We should get on to the news round. Sure. It is with thanks to Gillette Labs for an effortless finish to your day. So, Richie, Euro 2028. We thought we had a clear run at this.
Yep, we don't. The FAI has formally expressed its interest in unison with the counterparts from Northern Ireland, Wales, Scotland and England in hosting Euro 2028. FAI Chief Executive Jonathan Hill said the submission marks a significant day for Irish football and a statement of intent for the development of the game as a whole in the country. The government has also given its backing to the bid. But contrary to expectations, the joint bid is not the only one for the European Championships after next. Russia and Turkey have both expressed an interest in hosting either Euro 2028 or 2032. Rustem Simonov, a member of the Russian Football Union's executive board, insisted their application was not a joke, always a good sign. Meanwhile, Italy has formally expressed an interest in hosting the 2032 tournament.
I mean, Russia throwing their hat into the ring is beyond extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly they're trying to make a point. They're currently banned, aren't they?
Yes.
I'm right in saying, they're currently banned. I mean, it's like you wouldn't put anything past the international football governing bodies, but this would seem to be beyond even what FIFA or UEFA could have come up with.
Yeah.
Did they host the games in the Euros last year? Didn't they? So it's not that long ago that they had a World Cup not that long ago. So you could even argue that it's not their turn. But yeah, I mean, it does seem like a stretch. I mean, Turkey. I haven't been following it recently, but Erdogan's not the greatest character either, and that probably isn't the best regime to be in bed with. But I suppose if you're comparing them with Russia, they're probably slightly favourable. But you couldn't bank on anything at the moment. You would think that Britain and Ireland would be the more the better bit out of those three. But I mean, I don't sit in the same shoes as UEFA delegates.
The problem is real rugby fans can't get tickets for the Six Nations. It's gone incredibly corporate, says one texter. Saturday was one of the poorest spectator experiences I've had was at the game. The level of disruption and people leaving their seats to go for beer was off the scale. that's the other thing. If the game isn't full of jeopardy, then you feel like, quick 5 minutes, I'll come back. It's only Scotland. You're more inclined to go for that beer, maybe. 3 textures in a row suggesting Molly Malone. Molly Malone needs to... Is there not a wistful letter to Molly Malone as well?
I used to sing with Molly Malone. I think if you watch videos of, like, you know, games in the 80s and 90s, they would have sang it. Yeah.
Well, Owen Kilkenny suggests such because he says Molly Malone needs to be resurrected.
Yeah.
Fields of Athenry started around the time when Munster were dominant. It's an atmosphere killer. Molly Malone more jaunty. Bring her back. # bring back Molly. Owen Kilkenny.
More songs the merrier. Like, there's no, you know, like, I just think a bit of variety would be very good.
N17 by the Saw Doctors.
Absolutely here for it.
Just moved the Ireland Games to Thomond Park. Stand up and fight column in Limerick. Yeah, it's not easy to pick these songs, is it?
No.
It's N17 by Saw Doctors.
Great song. Can't see it taken off in a stadium.
No?
No, not unless it's been piped in. I can't see someone organically.
Well, we'll try it.
Yeah, the first person to do it he's taking a risk, or he or she is taking a risk because they stand up and launch into it and hope that the 50,000 are going to join him or her.
And it's only really got 2 lines that lend themselves to singing in a crowd anyway. So not really a goer.
Yeah. Well, we need a second song. It can't just be Fields of Athenry.
That there isn't even a second song. It just speaks volumes of fan culture here. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Half. One for
just
the second
song.
We can't even agree on an anthem. You know, we've got.
Come here, you two Bohemians types. Who are considered, and don't be biased, who are considered the best fans for atmosphere in the league round?
There's a good few, to be fair.
Number uno, though.
Dundalk are always good crack, actually. Cork as well.
Cork, when they're going well, is a fair hotbed.
Yeah.
Are Bows considered good? You're all hipsters now, aren't you?
Very good away fans. I think Dennyman can be quite quiet at home. Big nights. Bows Rovers is always good.
Always good, yeah.
Always big atmosphere. Like, there's no bad atmosphere. Well, sorry, UCD. Drogheda, not great. But like, Sligo away is a good
Sligo's good, yeah.
Is UCD the worst atmosphere?
It's just quiet.
They don't have
numbers.
any fans. You know, they've got 5.
Why haven't the students taken to UCD?
I mean, I used to write for the UCD College Tribune. We had a column editor this every 3 or 4 months. The students have never engaged in that team. It's just not, like, the summer football doesn't help now, but it's just never really connected with the university, kind of, whether Friday nights people have gone home or various different things. Like, Belfield Park used to be just buried in the corner of the campus. I don't think I'd say 90% of people in UCD didn't know they had a team. Derry used to be brilliant, and they've redone the Brandywell. I think that Derry's going to get good again, but it's quite greenfield and new and quite vast, the Brandywell. Finn Park needs to be the new stadium. Hopefully Finn Harps will get a good atmosphere. And they're all pretty good though.
Why is Dalymount gone quiet? All the hipsters
Dalymount's always been
arriving in.
I think that
tweeting
numbers
and
have
sipping craft beers during the game. Is that the problem?
Well, I mean, the team aren't going particularly well at the moment, so that's not helping. The Dalymount stand is, Dalymount goes up and down in terms of atmosphere. It used to be the stand used to be quite an old crowd, and the crowd down in F&G would make as much noise as possible, but it often needs a big game like a Rovers game to really get going.
Okay.
It's one stand, it's like
that's the problem as well.
Yeah.
The acoustics don't.
Well, the acoustics are good, but you're not really responding off the rest of the stadium.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
It sounds great.
It needs another couple of ends, more than anything else. It needs that redevelopment, like more than anything, for numerous reasons. And atmosphere is certainly one of them.
When is that due again? What's the latest?
At the end of next season, they move out to start building it. But I mean, that's all predicated on the Talca Park stuff. And but Euro 2028 will save everything in Irish football and make sure we get all our stage, just like Euro 2020 did.
So I hear. So Stephen Kenny speaking today, Richie?
Yeah, Bohemians goalkeeper James Talbot and QPR defender Jimmy Dunn have been called into the Republic of Ireland squad. They replaced the injured Bournemouth goalkeeper Mark Travers. He's got a minor strain. And Blackburn defender Darragh Lenihan, who has a groin problem ahead of Saturday's friendly with Belgium. Meanwhile, Anthony Barry has described swapping Ireland for Belgium as a no-brainer. He'll be alongside his new boss Roberto Martinez at the Aviva, having left his role as part of Stephen Kenny's backroom team last month. Barry told the Belgian media today that his links with Martinez during his time at Wigan, coupled with the World Cup, informed his decision to leave. Meanwhile, Kenny has been talking up Barry's replacement, John Eustace.
He's a student of the game, thinks about the game. I know we did quite a few video sessions together before he came on board, and we just interacted in relation to how they train, what his ideas are, how he feels about, are they, do we connect on that level, and thought provoking and challenging some concepts, and so it was interesting. And I feel that I think he seems a really good person as well, honestly, and you bring a humility to the group as well. And so I think he'll do a good job.
We'll chat to Dan about all this. I mean, I admire Anthony Barry's honesty in saying it was a no-brainer swapping Ireland for Belgium. I just wish he'd lied a bit more. No, it was a really tough decision. You guys are great. A lot of, great time working here. But in the end, I plunged for Belgium. No, it was a no-brainer.
It's all business. You got to know where you stand.
No-brainer.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Won't take that personally, Anthony Barry.
Especially considering how much, of all the coaches that have ever cycled through the Irish team, his name rings out,
Yeah. Ronan outside says, we've never had more texts on any subject. I don't want to say ever, but in a bloody long time. On the Molly Malone point, by the way, guys, I'm 45 years old, went to plenty of matches in the old Lansdowne, and Molly Malone was always sung. I'm talking mid-80s. What the hell happened to Molly Malone? Bring it back, Rob and Glenageary. There you go, you were right, Rory.
Yeah, I wonder is that the schoolboy terrace and the fact that a lot of the schoolboys would have come from local schools, and that would have been a local song, whereas now the crowd is much older than it would have been then. I mean, the lack of terracing, I was reminiscing about the 2004 Triple Crown. I was on the North Terrace that day and I nearly got crushed on the way in, so I'm not advocating for that North Terrace. That was a really badly built terrace. That was pretty bad, but the atmosphere was definitely more. It was easier to create an organic atmosphere when you had terracing and cheaper tickets in terraces, whereas now it's just so expensive to get in. It's corporate, but also it comes through the clubs, and it's definitely a different crowd to the November crowd. Not saying club people are in any way anyway bad. I think a lot of clubs sell their tickets to corporates as well, and it just ends up being just this big event. And it fuels the game. So those expensive tickets pay for the players.
Well, Niall in Cork is talking about lots of fans there far more concerned with their Instagram photos during the game and having pints than watching the game. One issue, says Aidan in Glasnevin, is that songs aren't traditionally part of GAA fan culture either. The majority of Irish matchgoers aren't used to singing at stadiums.
What about tip, 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 tip?
I know, yeah.
Come on, the classics.
Well, there's a constituency of Munster fans. Like in rugby, all four provinces fans sing quite a lot. So while I accept that about the GAA, it's certainly, if you have people going, if you think
what do Leinster sing? Leinster. It's not a song.
They sing Come On You Boys in Blue sometimes.
Stand Up for the Boys in Blue.
Did they sing A Lady Blue a little bit?
They sing Leinster more often than not.
Probably. But it's still singing.
No, it's not.
I'm not saying
it's like a long groan.
Sure, but I'm just saying that the four constituent provinces all have good atmospheres at their games. So if the people at those games came together, if it was an idea that the people from those games came together at Ireland games, you would think that they would be able to figure it out. But I don't think those people do.
Munster and Connacht fans singing The Fields Out and Rye.
Yes.
See, again, we're back to just the one song here.
Yes.
Terence suggests the boys are back in town. Tin Lizzie.
Again, I don't know. Great coming over the PA as the team comes onto the pitch or something like that. I don't see it. I think it needs to be more simple, or a kind of some sort of ballad if you're going to get it to go across 50,000 people.
We have to stop singing ballads.
Good ballads, or swing low. The team are swing low in the dressing room. We can adopt it.
Not one suggestion yet. We're bringing back Molly Malone. That's as far as we got. Well, that's something. We've doubled our...
Well, it would do, yeah. And it would be tradition. It would be in keeping with the stadium, I think... It's interesting that so many people are reacting to this, that people are either... It sounds like they're agreeing with the idea that it isn't great at the moment.
Well, nobody is texting in saying, what are you talking about? The atmosphere is wonderful.
Yeah.
Put it that way. Richie, Ash Barty caught everybody unawares.
She certainly did. Widespread shock at Ash Barty's decision to retire from tennis. The current world number one says she wants to chase other dreams in her life. Barty won the Australian Open just in January, and she's still only 25. She briefly stepped away from tennis in 2014 and played cricket in the Women's Big Bash League in her native Australia. In an interview with fellow ex-pro Casey Dellacqua, Barty says she is at peace with her decision.
I'll be retiring from tennis, and it's the first time I've actually said it out loud, and it's hard to say, but I'm so happy and I'm so ready, and I just know at the moment in my heart for me as a person, this is right. And I know I've done this before, but in a very different feeling, and I'm so grateful to everything that tennis has given me. It's given me all of my dreams plus more, but I know that the time is right now for me to step away and chase other dreams, to be able to win Wimbledon, which was my dream, the one true dream that I wanted in tennis. That really changed my perspective, and I just had that gut feeling after Wimbledon and had spoken to my team quite a lot about it. And there was just a little part of me that wasn't quite satisfied, wasn't quite fulfilled. And then came the challenge of the Australian Open. And I think that for me just feels like the most perfect way, my perfect way, to celebrate what an amazing journey my tennis career has been. As a person, this is what I want.
Interesting. 25 years of age, not feeling fulfilled, walking away. I was even reading, let alone the experience or the legacy, even just financially, like she's pulling in $3 million a year just in endorsements. Even if she goes out from the year or 2 or 3, doesn't play great tennis, that's transformative money, obviously. To be totally cynical about it, you know, like she's saying there, I didn't feel fulfilled.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people...
Rory O'Connor's not fulfilled at the Irish Independent. He just gets on with it because it's the job.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'd like to point out that it's very. I don't.
But you take my point. I mean,
no, absolutely. You know. Like, I mean, at the top of her game, and how many other sports people feel this way, and feel obliged to go make the money and to go and stay at the top, or are maybe like you got to admire the fact that she's been so true to herself, and I think you could. You know, I'm sure loads of people are saying, you know, what is she doing? You know, why is she walking away? But I mean, if she's being true to herself, if she's not happy, if there's some other things she wants to do, and like the fact she was able to play cricket at a high level, you know, there's probably a massive sports documentary coming down the tracks on this in a couple of years. You know, and she's so young that she could go back to it. You know, she could walk away and come back. But you think of Osaka, you think of Simone Biles, the Olympics, you think of the pressure that particularly female sports people are under. It's all part of it. I mean, it doesn't sound like she's going down that road, the mental health road on it, but obviously there are pressures that come with getting up every morning and being a professional sports person. It's difficult. It's not easy, but it's the supposed dream. But obviously she's decided she has other dreams, and that's I find that really, really, really interesting. And you know, who are we to judge her for, you know, achieving what she wanted to achieve and getting out when the going's good? I mean, that's really, really interesting and impressive. I'd love to know what she's going to do next.
I guess every job is a treadmill quality. Excuse me, Ruaidhri, for saying you're not fulfilled. Of course you are.
Yeah.
Of course you are. Maniac 2000 is a suggestion in.
I like it.
Dirty Old Town. Noel and Summerhill and County Meath. Bit of a jauntiness to that, no?
Yeah, and you can hear people belting it out. Do they? Yeah.
It's say again?
No, it's about Newcastle. Is it about Newcastle or Manchester? Either
really
way,
matter.
it's not about Dublin.
But it's like, as long as everyone's singing it and it's going well, it doesn't really. I mean, within reason, it doesn't really matter.
And it's a bit of a plod as well, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Okay. Shot Down by Richie McCormack. So, do you want to bring us a last story, if you could, Rich?
Yeah, good news story to finish on. Jack Marley has claimed Ireland's third gold medal of this week's European Under-22 Boxing Championships in Croatia. The Monkstown heavyweight beat Italy's Roberto Lizzi by unanimous decision this afternoon. Marley joins Lisa O'Rourke and Niamh Faye in taking home gold this week from Croatia.
Okay, very good, fellas. We're out of time. Richie McCormack, thanks as ever.
Nice one, lads.
Rory O'Connor of the Irish Independent, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks, Joe. Cheers, Richie.
Your chance to win big. News Talk's cash machine.
Well, I suspect someone is kicking themselves today. Barry made the phone call earlier on. Nobody picked up the phone, which means we have a rollover. So there is more than €18,000 on the line.